So diving into my 50K training, what do you do when you get sick and how do you operate or train around crazy kids' schedules? That's what I'll be talking about in today's podcast.
Gym Athlete Podcast, and we're here to build autonomous athletes and put phenomenal programming into every garage, basement, and spare bedroom out there. I'm Jerred Moon, and I'm with Joe Courtney. We are strength and conditioning coaches who have turned over 20,000 people into garage gym athletes over the last decade. And we're here to reduce the information overload that exists in the health and fitness industry today. We're going to do that by covering relevant science and give actionable takeaways, not only from the data, but from our years of experience. So let's dive in.
All right, quick update over the last week on my training for the 50K, where I'm at in my training, the phase, and ultimately what happened. To be honest, this past week was one of the worst possible weeks I've ever had in training, probably in a decade. So I got hit really hard with a sickness. I don't know what it was. Could have been some sort of virus, definitely a respiratory thing, flu, COVID, whatever. Could be one of those things. I have no idea. But it did take me down pretty hard. And so what do I do in those situations? Because I haven't had an illness actually take me down that hard to where I missed basically every scheduled training session in a week. I still trained some, but I missed every scheduled training session, meaning if I was supposed to run an hour and a half on a Wednesday, I ran like 3 miles. So you had to put in like 30 minutes as opposed to the full hour and a half. So I missed every true training scheduled session, but I did something in its place. So that's the quick answer as to what I do when I get sick. In this case, it was a pretty bad illness. I couldn't run. I felt like every time I would try to throw in exercise, I would get a little bit worse. It just seemed the more I taxed my body, the worse I was getting. So I had to take just a solid 2 to 3 days off completely. 2 days off, like didn't do anything. 1 day added walks, and the other days I had some like light training, body geo, 3-mile runs, stuff like that. And that's what I recommend for most people. You kind of know what kind of illness that you have. Like I typically train through most sicknesses. If it's a cold or something just minor, I will reduce training volume, but I do think that training at that time is just whatever your body can withstand. So it's probably still a good idea to go out, get a walk, do things, but not do anything that's going to be overly stressful on the body. And that's exactly what I did this last week. So nothing spectacular to report. Unfortunately, kind of put me a week behind in training. I'm feeling better now. Ran an hour and a half today, zone 2. Definitely still clearing out a lot of congestion and whatnot. Did body geometry yesterday. Everything's feeling good. I'm moving in the right direction, and this week's going to be a lot better than the last week. So if you do get sick, shrug it off, get better, focus on getting better. Do what you can to maintain being active if that's something that your body's going to allow you to do, but keep pressing on. Now, another question I got recently was like, if you listen to the podcast, I have 3 kids. And their ages are 11, 9, and 5. And they're all in multiple different activities. So I think it's actually a little bit easier to train the younger your children are. And most people don't actually realize this, and I didn't realize it. Like, it seems really hard in the infant stage. But at the same time, if you, have a partner, like my wife, she could, watch the baby while I go for a run, do whatever, pretty much at any point in time, right? Because they don't even have a schedule. If you're preschool and everything else like that, they don't really have a schedule, so you can do whatever you want whenever you want. Especially like during the summer, my kids don't have as much of a schedule. It's way easier to get in a 5 a.m. run and those kind of things, but I can't do any of that stuff during the school year. I basically need to be at my house by 6 a.m. For my kids, getting up, getting ready for school, all of those kind of things, getting them, fed and out the door and taking them to school, that kind of stuff. So the earliest I could start a training session is typically after that, around, they go to school pretty early. So let's say 7:15 to 7:30 a.m., rough start of where I could start a training session. But they also have after school schedules, right? Like, so they come home from school, then we have sports, 3 different kids all over the place. So it's pretty crazy, a lot crazier than when your kids are young. You just have their schedule that you kind of are, you have to take part in. And it's fun. It's all awesome stuff. But I don't think you should ever become that person who's completely, sacrificing your entire life and all of your goals for your children. I think it's very important to find out how to work those things together. So for me, pretty simple. Like, I'm an entrepreneur, so the answer to this question might not help everyone, but I just try and structure my schedule around that. So body geometry days, which are Monday, Wednesday, Friday for me right now, that's when I'm just those training sessions can go in whenever. They take 45 minutes to an hour. These are the strength training stuff. I can fit those in. I typically do those in the afternoon, right around when the kids are getting home. And then it kind of finishes out my day. Like, I kind of like, they're getting home later in the day. That's about when I start my training session, and then I'm ending the day there, and then we can go to practices or whatever. Now, the longer runs, because I'm trying to fit in like hour and a half runs twice a week, and then like an even longer run than that on the weekend. And so that's what I've just restructured my schedule to where immediately after I drop them off from school, I'm able to get in an hour and a half run. Very quickly after that, start work, and I'm just pushing my work day a little bit longer to make sure that I get everything in. Because some people think the beauty of being an entrepreneur is the fact that you can do what I just said. You have a very flexible schedule. I can do those things, but I still have a lot to do. So I can't actually take an hour and a half out of my day and get everything else done that I need to. I still need to get all the things done that I need. And, not even like menial tasks. I'm just talking about like big projects that you want to work on because it moves the company forward. So I have to focus on those things. And then Saturday is typically where I'm doing my long run right now. And that is the one where I just wake up early, trying to hit that run starting around 5 a.m. So it doesn't, again, we might have our record, I think, is 7 games on a Saturday between three kids. And so a lot going on, even on the weekends. So having to get that stuff in early is just paramount. So that's what I've been doing. I don't know if that's helpful, like I said, if you don't have a flexible schedule, but just trying to get stuff in the morning, because those runs in the afternoon just really weren't working for me. We talked about the fasted training state versus fed and all that. Just doesn't seem to work out for me if I train later in the day. So changing the schedule up a little bit and hitting those long runs as early as I possibly can on Saturday. Sunday's typically a rest day. And that's how my training went this week. Kind of crappy, in all honesty, with getting sick and going down so hard. Hopefully have better update next week as we dive into more of this stuff, because the runs are getting longer and I have a lot more that I want to talk about, but I'll save that one for the next one. So I will wait until then. Remember, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you.
Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to find out more, check out our training, or just know more about us, head to garagegymathlete.com.